And then we go on to the next page and it literally says, how far... I didn't realize how entertained I was by this. What up peoples of the internet, my name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. Okay guys, so for today's video, I'm so excited because I am bringing you my new Reading for the First Time series. You guys know I've done a lot of these on my channel already as it is. I've done it for the Six of Crows duology, I've done it for the After series, I've done it for 50 Shades of Grey, and I've also done it for Twilight. And now, we've got a new one, which is one I'm honestly so excited to read because I have been wanting to watch this TV show for so long, and we all know I'm really bad at keeping up with TV shows. Like, if you don't know this already, I'm really bad at keeping up to date with TV shows and just watching them. I'm just so bad at them. Like, I'm way better at keeping up with books than I am with TV shows. Anyways, this TV show is one I've always wanted to watch, and I've only ever watched a bit of season 1. I've never finished season 1, and obviously there's 9 seasons, I think, so I've never finished it. But that show and book is The Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. So like I said, I have started watching this show, but I never finished season 1. I don't even remember how many episodes I made it into season 1, but obviously the first season is like only a smidge of the whole story, so I don't know a lot that happens in the show. And ever since I did my Reading for the First Time Twilight series, I mentioned in one of those videos that I've never watched The Vampire Diaries, or I've never read the books, and ever since I said that, I got comments so many times saying, please do a vlog series reading The Vampire Diaries. So I was like, okay, I have to do it, and I don't know why I put it off for so long, but we're doing it now, and I'm honestly so excited. Now, first things first, I've heard that the books are supposed to be not as good as the TV show, and it's one of those rare occasions where the adaptation is better than the source material. And so I'm very interested to see how that's going to unfold. I also know there's a lot of books in this series, so I don't even know how long this vlog series is gonna be, but this one includes books 1 and 2, like it's a volume compendium of both books. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do both books in the one vlog. I probably will, just because like it's not that big of a book, so I'll just combine the two of them together. And that way this series won't be so long, because I'm pretty sure there's like 9 books. From what I know about the TV show, I know that this follows a main character named Elena, and she goes to high school, and then these 2 guys show up who are vampires. That's mainly what I can remember about the TV show, and I know obviously the side characters are Caroline and Bonnie. I think it's Bonnie. That's pretty much all I know from the first season that I watched. I also know that there is people called the Originals. I don't exactly know who they are. Like, I've seen pictures of them obviously on my timeline, and I know like I have Klaus and all this kind of stuff, but I don't know their characters because I never met them in season 1, and I just don't know them, but I know the fandom loves them, so I'm excited to meet them. Hopefully they're in the books. And then the final thing before we dive in and start reading The Vampire Diaries is I want to make it known what team I am before I start reading. So based on what I saw from season 1, I was team Stefan. I also think I'm just biased because Paul Wesley, need I say more? And like, to me, he just seems like he's the more sensitive type of guy, which is kind of my vibe. That's kind of like what I like in a guy. So for that reason, I was team Stefan. But obviously over the course of these reading vlogs, I might end up changing teams. And also, once I've finally read the books, I cannot wait to watch the show. But anyways, I'm looking forward to starting this. And of course, if this is your first time ever watching a Reading for the First Time series by me, in these vlogs, I always share spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, you don't want to know what happens, then don't continue watching this video, because I will just share my reactions. I'll tell you what's happening as I'm going along through the book. So yeah, there you have it. I'm gonna go start reading The Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. I'm honestly so excited. It's actually ridiculous. But here we go. Let's do this. Okay guys, so I'm about to start reading, and I just checked, and this came out in 1991. This book is older than me. I don't know why, but I thought this was like an early 2000s book series. Clearly not. 1991. But anyways, here we go. Chapter 1, and it starts with Dear Diary. Why did I not think this book was actually about a diary? The Vampire Diaries. I don't know, I just didn't think it was actually about a diary. Okay, I'm only on page 5. I've literally made barely any progress, and Elena is already giving me the biggest I'm not like other girls vibe. Just, no. Like, she's talking about how she shooed a bird, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. You told a bird to shoo. Everyone has like shushed a bird away from them because they don't like birds or something. Like, A lot of people have done that. It's not something that's so crazy and random that you shoot a bird. I can't. Also, another thing, Elena is blonde in this, apparently. She's not the brunette Nina Dobrev that we know on the front cover. But anyways, I just need to talk about the whole bird situation because it was literally so funny to me. The fact that she's like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. You shoot a bird. Basically, she walks out of her house and she's on her first day back to school. Also, by the way, I don't think there's a Jeremy in this. I don't think she has a younger brother. She has a younger sister named Margaret, who's 4. That's another thing that's different from the show from what I remember. And it says that she walks out the house and she can feel something watching her. So naturally, when you feel like you're being watched, you would blame a bird. How could you feel like you're being watched and then you blame it on a bird? Like you're like, oh my god, that bird is watching me. I know it. Like, the birds work for the bourgeoisie.
The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
Oh, that just came into my head. Oh. That's clearly what Elena was thinking. I'm just gonna read the whole thing to you. So, that was it. Something was watching her. The sky overhead was not blue, but milky and opaque, like a giant bowl turned upside down. The air was stifling, and Elena felt sure that there were eyes on her. She caught sight of something dark in the branches of the old quince tree in front of the house. It was a crow, sitting as still as the yellow-tinged leaves around it, and it was the thing watching her. She tried to tell herself that this was ridiculous, but somehow she knew. It was the biggest crow she had ever seen, plump and sleek, with rainbows shining in its black feathers. She could see every detail of it clearly. The greedy dark claws, the sharp beak, the single glittering black eye. It was so motionless that it might have been a wax model of a bird sitting there. Elena felt herself flush slowly, heat coming in waves up her throat and cheeks, because it was looking at her, looking the way boys looked at her when she wore a bathing suit or a sheer blouse, as if it was undressing her with its eyes. Before she realized what she was doing, she had dropped her backpack and picked up a stone from the side of the driveway. "Get out of here," she said, and heard the shaking anger in her own voice. "Go on, get away." With the last word, she threw the stone. And then it literally just says, wait for it. Elena straightened up slowly, then glanced around, self-conscious. She couldn't believe what she had just done. She told a bird to shoo, basically. No one, like, I can't. How could you be self-conscious about shooing a bird? I'm still on the same page. Bear this in mind. And I hate Elena already. I remember when I watched the first bit of season 1, I didn't like Elena. Like, she really irritated me already. She's gonna annoy me so much more in the books. Oh no, but anyways, so it's still about the whole bird situation, about her shooing a bird. It's not that big of a deal. And she just goes. Elena took a deep breath. Down the street, a door opened and several children poured out laughing. She smiled at them and took another breath, relief sweeping through her like sunlight. How could she have been so silly?
You silly goose. You're so silly.
She shooed a bird. You shooed a bird. I need to get this into my head. She shooed a bird and she's making such a big deal out of it. Cool. Okay, so I'm now up to page 18 of the book and the girls have all had lunch. So there's Bonnie, Meredith, Caroline and Frances, who Meredith and Frances, I've no idea who they are because they are not in the show, I don't think. I obviously know who Caroline and Bonnie are because they were in season 1. And Caroline and Elena kind of have like this thing going on where they want to be the queen of the school and it's like, oh, I'm on top of the throne and all this kind of stuff. And then they're talking about the new guy who's in the school, which is obviously Stefan. And they're all kind of like attracted to Stefan and stuff and they're just trying to figure out all this information about him. And they're talking about how he's in Bonnie's biology class. And this is what it says. And I'm like, okay. So this is what it says. He didn't really talk to her. He's very mysterious, you see. Mrs. Endicott, my biology teacher, tried to get him to take off his glasses, but he wouldn't. He has a medical condition. What kind of medical condition? I don't know. Maybe it's terminal and his days are numbered. Wouldn't that be romantic? I just want to know how that's romantic because I'm not seeing how that's romantic, but I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so now I'm up to page 35, chapter 4. And basically what just happened is Elena broke up with Matt because she was going out with him, but then she was like, no, we're just friends. And she's been trying to get to know Stefan. Like, that's what she wanted to do. They were like setting up this whole plan where she was gonna be part of like the welcoming committee and like show him around the school and everything. And also Matt asked him to try out for the football team. And he said to Matt that he wasn't interested. And then Elena comes up to him at the end of the class and she's like, hi, my name's Elena, I'm part of the welcoming committee. And Stefan just like cuts her off and is just like, sorry, I don't have time. I'm sorry, but I just don't like Elena already. So I'm like so happy that he just cut her off and is like, nope. And then she's like, but what? Like, I'm part of the welcoming committee, we have to do all this thing. And he's like, sorry, but I have tryouts for football to do. And then Matt looks at him as if it'd be like, you just told me you weren't gonna try out. So he clearly is just avoiding Elena. I know it's probably something to do with like he can't resist her or the smell of her blood or something along those lines. That's why he's refusing. But the fact he just rejected her that much, sorry, here for it because I don't like Elena. Okay guys, so it's the next day and I didn't read much since I last spoke to you. I only got to page 61 and chapter 6 of the book. I have things to talk about again because there's just so much in here, and honestly I'm highly entertained by how much Elena is annoying me. I don't know why, but like it's kind of just fun because I'm like, why is she so annoying? I don't understand it either. But basically what I just read is that Elena ended up going home and crying because remember in the last clip I said how like Stefan made it look like he had to go train for football because he didn't want to get shown around by Elena. She went home and then cried about it and said like it was such an awful experience. Like, no, that was not an awful experience. He just said he had to go do football. Like, you didn't ask him out on a date or anything and he rejected you or something like that. No, it was not that deep, but she went home and cried. And then because she was feeling sad, she went to her parents' grave to see them and stuff. And while she was there, her two friends Meredith and Bonnie showed up. And when they were there, they were all talking about like Stefan again. And then they made a blood oath that basically Elena was going to get Stefan. And this is exactly what they said. I swear to keep this a secret and do anything Elena asks about Stefan. Meredith repeated the oath, and Elena, staring at the pale shadows of their thumbs joined together in the gathering dusk, took a long breath and said softly, and I swear not to rest until he belongs to me. I can't. I just can't. Like, she's literally like, I must have him. He is mine. Okay, she's trying to claim ownership. We don't love to see that. And then in the last chapter that I just read, we basically were finding out Stefan because he was just talking about all these different things and he feels like his brother Damon is back. And I'm pretty sure the crow is Damon. I think I remember that from the first episode of the show. But anyway, Stefan's talking about that and we find out that he's talking about Catherine, which is someone that basically looks exactly like Elena, who was back in a couple years back, and she was like a vampire, and I'm pretty sure she turned Stefan. And we were finding out about how like Catherine became a vampire, and Klaus was mentioned. So I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't think Klaus would be announced in the first book because I know in the TV show he doesn't come into like season 3 maybe. He definitely wasn't in season 1 because I never met him in season 1. And basically Stefan is kind of like interested in Elena because Elena looks exactly like Catherine, and he was basically like in love with her and all these kind of things. So he's probably going to start falling for Elena because she looks like Catherine. He's having like the memories of her and all of that kind of stuff. You know, that's what's going to happen. That is what's gonna happen. Okay, so I've been reading more, and sorry about the angle change, but I'm just so comfy lying like this reading that I was too lazy to set the camera up, so I'm just gonna sit like this still and hide the double chin with my hoodie. Tell me you're insecure about your double chin without telling me you're insecure about your double chin. Anyways, so basically on chapter 6, I've only read Elena's diary entry into this chapter, and it's just so funny. I'm going to love this book purely because of how much I'm laughing at Elena. It's entertaining me so much right now, and like they've spoken to each other once, literally that one time I told you where she offered to give him a tour and he just said no. That's the only time they've spoken to each other. And basically she's calling it Plan B, where she's pretending that she's like dating this guy called Jean-Claude, and like who she met when she was in France, and she's pretending that like that's like her long distance lover and everything to try, I'm assuming to try make Stefan jealous. It's literally just like, there's only one thing I do care about right now: Stefan. Even Bonnie and Meredith don't realize how important he is to me. I'm afraid to tell them. I'm afraid they'll think I'm crazy. At school I wear a mask of calm and control, but on the inside, well, every day it just gets worse. The dramatics of it all, I'm finding it so entertaining. He hasn't spoken to me since that horrible afternoon, but I'll tell you something strange. Last week in history class, I glanced up and caught him looking at me. We were sitting a few seats apart and he was turned completely sideways in his desk, just looking. For a moment I felt almost frightened and my heart started pounding and we just stared at each other, and then he looked away. But since then, it's happened twice more. And each time I felt his eyes on me before I saw them. This is the literal truth. I know it's not my imagination. And then literally after that exact sentence, it just goes, he isn't like any boy I've ever known. He seems so isolated, so lonely, even though it's his own choice. And then we go on to the next page and it literally says, how far... I didn't realize how entertained I was by this. So how can I ever get him somewhere he can't run from me? That's the real question with Plan B. Bonnie says, why not get stuck in a thunderstorm with him, so you have to huddle together to conserve body warmth? And Meredith suggested that my car could break down in front of the boarding house, but neither of those ideas is practical. And I'm going insane trying to come up with something better. Every day it's getting worse. I feel as if I were a clock or something, winding up tighter and tighter. If I don't find something to do soon, I'll... ... I was going to say I'll die. It's so dramatic and I'm so entertained. Okay, so we know that she just broke up with Matt because she wanted to end things with him and everything. She thought they were just friends. She basically friend-zoned him. But now she wants to see if Matt will help her, like, be introduced and, like, start talking to Stefan, because Matt and Stefan are the ones that really talk to each other, because Matt got Stefan on the football team. And he literally called her out and I'm here for it. Like, Matt is coming through. And he literally just says, you only want everybody and everything revolving around Elena Gilbert. He said bitterly. You only want everything you don't have. Where's the lie? Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 88 and I'm apparently 44% through the book according to Goodreads. And what just happened is Elena and everyone were at like their homecoming dance and Elena left to go with Tyler and he's very gross and he like does a pass at her. And then Stefan like shows up and just basically beats up Tyler and he's just like, a gentleman wouldn't force himself on a lady and all these kind of things. And I'm kind of like, yes, king, get it. We stand Stefan. And now she's in Stefan's bedroom already. Like, she's gone to change it in his bedroom. And honestly, there's not been very much vampire stuff. I don't know, I kind of expected a little bit more or just something. Because right now, all it really is just the fact that Elena's sad that Stefan doesn't want her. That's literally all it is. Damon is still nowhere to be seen. Has not appeared at all yet. And I didn't expect him to be absent for this long. I thought he would appear within like the first 20 pages. Apparently not. Okay, so now it's page 102, halfway through the book already, and basically Stefan and Elena have kissed, and when they were like kissing and stuff, she was like, she finally felt at home. Elena knew she was home now with Stefan. They have, I think, spoke one sentence to each other this entire book up until this point. How does she, I don't know. I just don't know. I can kind of understand actually, because if Paul Wesley kissed me, I would definitely feel at home. Anyways, so that happened and then Stefan brings Elena back home. There's a cop car outside of her house and we find out that Vicky, which is this girl that was with another guy named Dick, he was with Elena and Tyler when Tyler made that pass at her, and Vicky got attacked by something, so I'm gonna assume Damon is here and he's now attacking people. And then also before Stefan and Elena kissed each other, he did tell Elena that she looks like Catherine, which is someone that he knew that died. Because she was like, why do you hate me, Stefan? Like, why do you shut me out and all this kind of stuff? And like, how does he shut you out? You've never spoken to him. And then he's just like, I don't hate you. You just remind me of somebody that I used to know. And we've all been there. We've heard the song by Goat Ye. We know about somebody that we used to know. Okay, I've literally just read the next chapter and Elena has just professed her love to Stefan and she literally said, I love you. They have spoken barely anything throughout this whole book. This romance, it does not make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. How could she be in love with him? How? Like, how? I understand that she's 16 and like maybe she's just caught up in the whole world of being a young teenager and like discovering boys and everything. But no, it literally says, how odd that after that passion she could feel so safe, so peaceful in his arms. I love you, she whispered into the rough wool of his sweater. She felt a quiver go through him. Elena, he said again, and it was the sound almost of despair. She raised her head. What's wrong with that? What could possibly be wrong with that, Stefan? Don't you love me? No! He doesn't even know you! Damon just showed up. I don't know why I'm actually happy about that when I literally said that I'm Team Stefan. So why am I happy that Damon's here? I don't know, maybe just to add some spice to this story, because her being in love with Stefan right now and like they barely know each other, I'm just like, no. I'm still Team Stefan though. Why did I get excited about Damon showing up? Anyways. Okay guys, so it's nighttime now and I'm up to page 159 of the book. I have 40 pages left of book 1, so I definitely think I will read book 2 in this vlog. But anyways, I'm really having such a fun time reading this because Elena is so dramatic and I don't like her as a character, like I really don't, but she's so fun to read through because she is so unnecessarily dramatic. And listen, I love me some drama in a character. Like, I'm here for the drama, I'm here for the tea in books, but like she takes being dramatic to a whole nother level and I just find it so entertaining to read through. But anyways, where I am in the book, they have done like this big Halloween bash thing and they like a haunted house kind of thing in the school, and they had like a section called the Druids and they had like Stonehenge and stuff because we found out that Bonnie, I'm assuming she's like a witch or she's a druid. Like she keeps emphasizing the word druid, so I'm assuming she must be a druid. She wanted like someone to do like a sacrifice thing because it's something that happens with druids in like their history or something like that. So she wanted like someone to be a sacrifice just for like the scare part of the haunted house, and they get like their history teacher to do it and he ends up dying, like actually dying, but we don't know who killed him. And everyone thinks now it's Stefan because the night that Elena was with Tyler and everything, Stefan beat up Tyler and something happened to Vicky, that girl that was there. We actually never found out much more about her. Like, is she okay? Honestly, we don't know. Like, we've literally never heard anything else about her. But she was also hurt, and so Tyler is like convinced it's Stefan because Tyler's like, well, he beat me up, so he has violent tendencies, so maybe he did just kill our teacher. And now they're all looking for him, and Matt found Stefan and was like to Stefan, you gotta get out of here. I know you didn't do it, but you need to go. And then Stefan is also being kind of dramatic and he's just like, is Elena okay? Tell me she's okay, Matt. And then Matt's like, she's okay. And then Stefan just leaves and he's like, take good care of her. I'm on page 159. What book have you read that you've read 159 pages and the characters act like they've known each other their entire life and they're deeply in love with each other when they've literally had barely any communication between the two of them? It's so funny. Like, I'm living for it. And like, there's so many parts where Elaine is just like, I know he's not happy and I feel him drifting away from me, and I'm like yeah, I'm gonna go continue reading. I'm probably gonna go finish book 1 and then start book 2. And also, we really haven't been getting much of Damon. Really nowhere to be found. Where is Damon? Who knows? Why do I keep emphasizing like where Damon is? I'm definitely a Stefan stan. I don't know, maybe I'm looking like for the drama of like Stefan and Damon. Like, I'm looking for that drama because I can just picture Elena being so much more dramatic with a love triangle. Like, she'd be like, oh my god, they both want me. Honestly, same. I'd be exactly like that too. And I have finished book 1 in the Vampire Diaries, The Awakening. And that ending was an awakening because it was so bad of an ending. Basically, what just happened, like I told you, the teacher died and they thought Stefan did it. Turns out Stefan didn't do it, Damon did it, but we knew that. And then Stefan just like tells Elena everything because she finds him drinking the blood of a dove. So he just tells her everything about being a vampire and all this kind of stuff, and how Catherine turned him and Damon, how she was meant to actually pick between them but she didn't and she just turned both of them, and then how Catherine ended up dying because she took off her ring that she wears to make sure that she's able to go out into sunlight, and Stefan and Damon also have those rings, and she took that off and died apparently. That happened, and it just talked about how Stefan and Damon were never really close after all that happened. And now obviously Damon is back in this town of Church Fell. Such a random name for a town, Church Fell. I'm pretty sure that's not the name of the town in the show. And Damon's there, and now Damon suddenly wants Elena, like he also wants her, and he's just like, brother, I'm gonna have her, she's mine, I'm stronger than you because I feel feed on humans and Stefan feeds on animals. And then there's all these different powers that they can do. They can like read minds kinda. They have like super strength. They can run really fast. They're also able to compel someone, like to make them do what they want to do. And Stefan's not great at doing those powers because he drinks animal blood. Anyways, that all happened, and then the next day Elena goes to school and Stefan's not there, and we found out that Stefan has gone missing, and she's like, no, he can't be gone. No, this can't be happening. So she runs out of the school. So dramatic. She runs to a graveyard and she just literally, the last line of the entire book, it's just, she screams out to the one person she knows will answer, and she just screams Damon in the middle of a graveyard, and that's exactly how the book ends. What kind of ending is that? I don't even know what I'm going to rate it, because this is like my wrap up for the first one, because I'm going to go start the second book, but I think I'm going to give it 2 stars for that, because it wasn't the worst book I've ever read in my entire life, but it also wasn't great either, because the writing style, questionable. I think I made that very clear, and like how it was very insta-lovey. The characters are all very annoying. No, you don't really like any of the characters. I kind of like Stefan, that's it, but once again, I'm kind of biased just because I'm picturing Paul Wesley, so I'm being biased. And then Elena is very annoying to read about, but at the same time, like I said, she gives me quality entertainment at the same time, so that's the reason I'm giving it 2 stars. That's pretty much it. You don't really get anything else from any of the rest of the characters. They're kind of just mentioned. So yeah, I'm gonna go start book 2 now, which is called The Struggle. Okay guys, so it's the next morning and I have been reading The Struggle book 2 in the Vampire Diaries, and I've only read the first chapter last night before I went to sleep, and it basically started exactly where the last one ended. So she's in the cemetery shouting for Damon, and then Damon shows up and Elena like ends up confronting him, and she ends up slapping Damon, which I was like, she did not just slap a vampire who could easily break you. She's basically just like, where's Stefan? A line appeared between Damon's dark eyebrows. Stefan who? Elena stepped forward and slapped him. I was just like, bravery right there. And then he just like starts taunting Elena, and he's just like, you don't belong to him. You're too good for him. Like, you should be with me. You should like become a vampire. Think of all the power that you could have and I could give you and all this kind of stuff. And she's just like, no, I want Stefan. Like, me and him are destined to be together. And all of this drama. And then also at the end of the chapter, he basically then tells Elena, oh, by the way, Stefan won't be coming back because I killed him. And then he just leaves. And obviously we all know Stefan did not die, because there's so many more books. He didn't die. We've been new, like, he's fine. Okay, so I don't think I could ever be Team Damon, because he killed Bonnie's dog. I know he's a vampire and he kills people, like that's what he does. But I draw the line when it comes to dogs. I'm on chapter 4 and they found Stefan. Bonnie did like this whole psychic thing where Stefan was like speaking through Bonnie, and it was really weird to read the way it was just written. Like, it was written in a really comedic style, and I don't think it meant it to be comedic. Anyways, they found Stefan and he was in a well, so he's serving Samara realness. If you don't know who Samara is, by the way, she's the girl in the Ring movies that lives in the well. And they found him, they got him out of the well, and he just like slumped onto the ground then, because obviously I'm gonna assume that Damon put him in there, and now he's like starved, like he hasn't had any blood, so he's like really drained. They all went to help save him, like Bonnie, Meredith, and Matt all went and found him. So I'm assuming they're all gonna find out about vampires very soon. Like, how do you explain this? Why he was in a well and why he looked the way he did and didn't want to go to the hospital. I feel like they're all gonna find out that there's vampires. Can't keep saying this, but I'm so entertained reading this. Like, I am finding so much fun reading it. Like, it's not good, but it's so fun to read. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Okay guys, Alaric has just shown up. Makes me so happy. I love Matthew Davis so much, and that's who plays him in the show. I love him, loved him ever since Legally Blonde. So it just makes me so happy that he showed up, because obviously their teacher died in the last book, and now Alaric is like taking over for him, and I just love Alaric. I'm gonna love him already, I just know it. Then weirdly enough, Alaric started talking to all the students about what had just happened with the other teacher, and then he's just like, oh, I know what, let's continue this conversation at my place tonight. He's casually having a party with his students. Not sure the protocol of that and if that's legal. And then we also got this moment where Caroline and Elena are just giving each other like the eyes and the looks, and then they actually confront each other and talk, and what they talk about was so funny to read. Caroline has been like whispering and looking at Elena, and people are avoiding Elena now, and so she's like, why are they avoiding me, Caroline? What are you doing? And Caroline just goes, I told you when school started that things were going to be different this year, Elena. She said, I warned you that your time on the throne might be running out. But it isn't my doing. What's happening is simply natural selection. The law of the jungle. It's so dramatic, and like the teenage, like, just high school drama. It's everything. And then like Caroline ends up leaving and stuff, and Elena just shouts at her and she goes, Caroline. The other girl turned back. Are you going to go to the party at the Ramsey house tonight? I suppose so. Why? Because I'll be there with Stefan. See you in the jungle. It's so iconic. It's just so funny. Okay guys, so more progress has been made, and remember how I said how we've never found out more information about Vicky, whatever her name is, Vicky Bennett, I think was her name. But anyways, she's after showing up to the school, and she was like acting kind of weird, and she went into the cafeteria and she just started like taking all of her clothes off, and everyone was looking at her, and then Elena went up to help her, and then she like screamed at Elena saying, you're one of the evil, you're one of the evil. So Vicky is going through it, and Honey same. Then also that already happened is they went to that party that was Alaric's house, and when they got there, Damon was also there, and he was with some other girl, and they got creeped out. They left because Stefan and Elena were scared of Damon, and she's told Bonnie and Meredith that she's 100% sure that Damon is the one behind the killing of their teacher. I will say though that I am enjoying book 2 more than I am book 1, because I think this one has a bit more vampire isms to it, if that makes sense. Okay, Bonnie is kind of interesting as a character, because they're looking at this like piece of note that Elena found in her pocket, which was like a part of her diary. One of her first diaries has gone missing. I'm assuming Damon took it, and she found like a part that was in one of her diaries, like a quote from it about how she wanted to touch Stefan and all this kind of stuff in her pocket. And now she's trying to figure out who put it there into her pocket, but we all know it's Damon. It's definitely Damon. And she's told Bonnie and Meredith about it, and now they're trying to help her figure out who must have done it. And they're like, we think it's Damon and everything. And Bonnie apparently kissed Damon at that party, so she's like really into Damon, and she doesn't want to believe he's bad. So literally what it says, you just don't want it to be Damon, said Meredith. I would think you'd be more worried about him being a psycho killer than a diary thief. And then Bonnie literally says, I don't know, killers are sort of romantic. Imagine you're dying with his hands around your throat. He'd strangle the life out of you, and the last thing you'd see would be his face. He can have me anytime. As I said, she's an interesting character, and I'm not concerned for her. Okay, I kind of take back what I was saying about how book 2 is better than book 1, because this book's also boring. Like, nothing's really happening, apart from the fact that Vicky might be turning into a vampire, but she doesn't have Damon's blood in her, so she can't do the full change apparently. We also know that Caroline is the one that took Elena's diary and is like taunting her because she thinks that there's stuff in the diary that proves that Stefan is the murderer. Where I am right now, Damon has just come into the house, and he was like having Thanksgiving dinner with like Aunt Judith and Margaret and Bonnie and Matt and everything. So he's been invited into the house because that's a big thing where vampires can only come into someone's house unless they're invited in. And so now he was able to get into the house, but Elena noticed that her bedroom and the living room were part of an old extension added to the house. So that was technically a different dwelling, so he needed to be invited into those rooms. So that night he said he was coming to get Elena because he said, you're going to be mine. He comes to get her. He can't get into her room because he hasn't been invited into it. And then he kind of blackmails Elena by going to her little sister's room, and obviously Elena doesn't want that to happen because that's her little sister, who's only 4. So then she willingly walks out of her bedroom and into Damon's arms. So what is he going to do? That's the question. Okay guys, so I have just finished book 2 in the Vampire Diaries, The Struggle. And I think I'm also going to give this one a 2 stars, maybe 3 stars. I'm not too sure just yet what I want to rate that one. Basically what ended up happening is they ended up stopping Caroline exposing Elena's diary and everything because they swapped the diaries, and Caroline ended up having her own diary. So when she went up to this stage on this Founders Day festival or whatever to read out everything, it was like, oh, this is my diary. how did this happen? And then Elena did her speech on the day and everything, and then she went out to the audience and she was talking with her aunt and everything, who introduced her to Damon again and was like, oh my god, you guys would be so good together. But Elena was being really rude to Damon because she doesn't like him, and her aunt was like, stop being so rude. Ever since you met Stefan, you've been acting so mean to other people. And then she was just like, I'm sorry, Aunt Judith, but I need to tell you something. I'm actually engaged to Stefan. Yes, you heard that correctly. Elena and Stefan are already engaged. I don't know what it is with these vampire books and people getting engaged so so quickly. But apparently if you want to get engaged quickly, put yourself in a vampire book. That's what I've learned over the course of doing these reading for the first time series. Anyway, so that happened, and then Elena ended up leaving because she was mad at her aunt, and she took Matt's car, she drove off, and she ended up crashing into a river off of the bridge, and she ended up drowning. And Stefan and Meredith and Bonnie got there, but it was too late when they got there. And obviously they were sad and everything, and then like Stefan kind of just put her over beside trees, and then he went on like a killing spree, and where Tyler was with all of his gang, he just started like feeding on all of them. It specifically said he got interrupted when he was on Tyler, so obviously Tyler's fine and he will be in the next book. And then also Caroline was there watching this all happen, but he didn't do anything to Caroline, so she obviously now knows what he is because she saw him doing it. And then at the very end of the book, like the last chapter, Elena just gets up and walks away. So clearly I'm assuming she is now a vampire. That's how the book ended, and I love that she's already a vampire. Like, it did not take long before she got turned, and I'm kind of here for that because that means if I continue this series and read the other books, so please let me know down below in the comments if you would like me to read the rest of the books in this series. That means she's going to be a vampire in the rest of the books, so at least that's something. Maybe she won't be as annoying as a vampire. Who knows? And yeah, that's going to be it for this reading vlog. Let me know if you have read the books yourself and what you thought of them. If you've watched the TV show, also let me know what you thought of that too. But anyways, that is it for this video, guys, and I shall see you all next time in my next one. So goodbye, guys.